Thanks for listening to our daily devotional. The lesson today is standing against the tide. A while back, I was with my family down on the coast, and as the waves came in, you would stand there and you'd realize the power of that water that came against you. They warned of rip tides, how that you could be pulled away, pulled out to sea. The waves came up, the water pushed. My wife got a very strong lesson on how hard it is to stand against the tide. But you realize that you can deal with it. There were warnings on how to stand, what to do to make sure that you were aware of the dangers, first of all, and then to realize what happened if you felt yourself being pulled. Well, we've been reading in our daily Bible reading about Israel, the failings of Israel, the results of the punishment that God gave. And, that puts you in a lot of despair no matter what's going on. But there was an interesting passage yesterday in our reading in Ezekiel, the 44th chapter, in verse 15. It says, "The priest, the Levites, the son of Zadok, that kept the charge of my sanctuary when the children of Israel went astray from me. They shall come near to minister to me, and they shall stand before me to offer unto me the fat and the blood, saith the Lord God." In chapter 44 and verse 16, he says, "They shall enter into my sanctuary. They shall come near to my table, minister unto me. They shall keep my charge." You can only imagine how hard it would have been to stand during that time, as Israel was filled with people that had just over and over rejected God's pleas to go back to the old paths, and how all of them turned away. They sought false prophets, they gave false teachings, they threatened individuals. But you look at it, and here we find a great lesson. There were those who stood, who continued to keep the charge of the sanctuary, no matter what other people were doing. Now, that helps me, and I think it'll help you too, to realize some great and valuable lessons. First of all, it can be done. No matter how hard it may seem, God has promised that we can have the ability to stand. We can have the ability to draw nigh to Him, resist even the devil himself, and the devil will flee from us. So if we determine to stand, we can do it. The Apostle Paul in Philippians, the 4th chapter, in verse 13, emphasized that he could do all things through Christ. We need to realize the source of the instruction, the source of the hope, the source of promises, and determine to stand with Him, just like those priests in that day. Secondly, God knows. Sometimes we wonder if it's worth it. It is difficult to stand against the tide that seeks to pull us around. But God knows who the faithful are. Just as He knew the priests then, He knows whether I stand against the tide or whether I go with the flow. And then I realize that God is just, and He will render to each what is due from their choices. The priests suffered because of the things that other people had done. But God said, in the midst of all this suffering, in the midst of being surrounded by this, I know who you are, and I will reward you. I pray that each of us realizes that we can, that God gives us the ability, God knows, and God will take care of us. Thank you for listening, and you have a great day. Thank you again for joining us in this Bible study. We remind you, if you'd like to follow along in our daily Bible reading, the link below in the description of this video will give you the PDF so you can read right along with us. If you have any other questions or if you'd like information on a Bible study, contact us with the information provided on the screen before you.